Next, we had the date with Morgan and Tony. And let me tell you, this another time when my antennas started going up and I start thinking, oh my good, is this like a fatal attraction thing about to start playing out with Morgan and Tony? I'm telling you, Morgan is something else. Now, we knew that she was aggressive. We knew that she was assertive. We knew that she was forward. She needs to do all this. But let me tell you, this is more than assertive and aggressive. She's starting to get to me quite a possessive and a little bit, when we start seeing her little thing with Blake later on, a combative. I'm telling you, Morgan is scaring me, and any man, I might need to be afraid of Morgan. She might be like the woman, who's that woman back in the day that cut off that man's penis? Woo! Morgan is giving me those vibes, y'all. She's giving me the vibes of the woman who cut off that man's penis in bed. What was that woman's name? Because Morgan's over here like, Tony, I know you like to work the room, but the problem is you like to work the room with everyone else and you need to cut it out. I was like, dang, cut it out. Good Lord, is he a little boy? Are you chastising him? She said, you need to cut it out. She said, you are too friendly and I don't like it. And she laughed and everything afterwards, but you knew she was dead serious. And she basically said, if you don't cut it out, I might hurt you. And then she started laughing. She was serious, Tony. She was serious. When she said she might hurt you, she is serious. You better really listen. You better really listen. I'm telling you, there are some cracked windshields. There's some hot grits on somebody. There's some busted tires, punctured tires, flat tires. There's some keyed cars in Morgan's history. There absolutely is. Where are the ex-boyfriends? Aren't we going to get to meet the exes next week? I want to meet an ex of Morgan, because I guarantee you there is some violence in some of her past relationships. It's got to be. Can't no woman talk like this and never make good on none of it. Morgan is talking real tough. And I'm telling you, over the course of her life, she has made good on some of these threats. I guarantee you. She ain't all talk. She has made good on some of them. She started talking about his lips, talking about, but those are my lips. Those lips shouldn't be on anybody else. He was like, come on over here and get these lips. And boy, that was a turn on for Morgan. She pounced right over there. I tell you, Morgan loves the chase. She loves the chase. And the more that Tony the Tiger slithers away from her, the stronger Morgan comes. If Tony really looked at what was going on, instead of him chasing her, he could chase her a little bit, but he is doing just what he needs to keep roping her in because she likes the chase. I'm telling you, I'm starting to see a little bit of I'm seeing like some signs that Morgan could be a little bit obsessive. I'm not kidding you. I am not kidding you. So now we move on. We back on another date with Morgan and Tony, and the same old stuff, the same old a fatal attraction movie waiting to happen. Because Tony is going to do something that requires Morgan to bust out his windows. Tony is absolutely going to do something that makes Morgan go bust out his windows, and she's going to say, I told you so. I told you I was going to hurt you, and you should have believed me when I told you. And Tony was like, Morgan is putting on the pressure. She is putting on the pressure because Morgan knows how to lay it on thick. She chastised Tony once again and told him, you play too much. You need to be thinking about the right things. You need to get back on track. You thinking about the wrong things. She is trying to put this man in line. Tony the Tiger. She's trying to tame the tiger. Girl, you're going to need more than some strong words. You're going to need some of that. What's that injection they do to calm the tigers down for the circus? To put the tigers asleep. She better bring a syringe. She better bring more than these tough words. She better bring a syringe for Tony the Tiger. Because, girl, this ain't nothing but fuel to his fire. She tried to tell Tony, Lyndon, the only one that ain't scared of you. He ain't scared of you. He don't back down from you, even though he knows you in the hunt. Girl. Morgan was talking tough. She's like, Lyndon ain't backing down for you. Remember, y'all, these were supposed to be the church people. Do y'all remember in the very episodes, Morgan and Tony the Tiger was supposed to be the church people talking about God? I guess they still are in the Bible, though, but they in the Old Testament. They in the part of the Bible where everybody's dying and getting stabbed and getting slayed, David and Goliath. They back in the Old Testament stories where there was a lot of carnage and a lot of death and a lot of killings going on. Let me tell you, they not the Christians from the New Testament, forgive and forget. They the Christians from the Old Testament. They the Christians of BC, before Christ. I can't stop, y'all. I can't believe these two were the Bible thumping Christians knocking on the door at the beginning of the episodes. And now we sit here at the table talking to these two, and I'm telling you, there ain't a Bible verse coming out their mouth. Tony better start saying, "No weapon formed against me will prosper." And Morgan might prosper. I'm telling you, better respect Morgan's game, Tony. You better respect her. I don't know if you've ever come up against an opponent like Morgan. No weapon formed against you may prosper. Okay, I don't know. You men have never seen the weapons that Morgan got. She got a lot of them, and she whips them out later on Blake. She whips them out and comes for him and slices off his neck, y'all. But the last date we're going to leave, the last date that we end up seeing, which really wasn't a date, I'm going to call it more of an execution, because that's really what it was. It was a premeditated execution, and it was between Morgan and Blake. And once again, Blake got his neck cut off by one of these women. I'm going to tell you, as much as people want to talk about Blake, he has really held himself together between these women, between the attacks of Jeffrey and the attacks of Morgan. I'm gonna tell y'all, no matter who he is, whether he's a douchebag, whether he's a liar, whether he's whatever, I'm gonna commend him for the way he has held it together under these attacks. And to be honest with you, Morgan really made herself look bad. She came on here to make Blake look bad. She came on here to go after the neck of Blake and to maybe expose him and tell him how he's a cancer. But the truth of the matter is, my perspective of Morgan went down a lot in this episode. It went down a whole lot. And so actually she did Blake a favor, because I actually am here now giving Blake some credit. And I'm putting Morgan down. If you remember, Morgan was one of my favorites, but she's definitely not one of my favorites anymore, because I'm starting to learn that I don't really like her style too much. I really don't. And this thing that she did with Blake, this confrontation, this, I don't think you're a benign cancer. I think that you are a malignant cancer. I don't get it. I understand that what she was upset about, or as she said, she really wasn't upset and she really wasn't hurt. Then girl, why all the energy? Why all the energy? If you weren't hurt and you weren't upset or you weren't offended or you weren't nothing, then I don't understand the energy for Blake. I really don't. I mean, I would be offended by what he said. So what's wrong with admitting that you were offended? But to say you're not offended, but then to come with all this energy, that doesn't make any sense to me. That tells me you like a confrontation. Jeffrey, just like Jeffrey told Andre, I hope I handled it with style and dignity, because I really don't like confrontation. Girl, you love confrontation. You love confrontation. And here is Morgan creating confrontation as well. And so Blake came out and said, well, I apologize. And she said, well, what are you apologizing for if you don't even know what you did? Girl, Morgan, come on now. He apologized. Now he's asking you what did he do? And now you're saying he didn't do anything to hurt you. Then what are you here for, Morgan? What are you here for but to slice his neck off? I'm telling you, Morgan got knocked down several layers. And Tony better watch this clip back, because like she said, I will hurt you. She will absolutely hurt a person. She'll cut you. She will cut you. And let me tell you another part where I departed from Morgan, because she said that some of the mean things, or I can't even call them mean, because I guess she don't think they was mean. She just didn't like them. But whatever, Morgan. She said some things about Blake and said, well, he said, well, once you have kids, you'll get nothing that you want. First of all, Blake is negative. We all know that. That's negative talk that Blake is talking about. I understand it on an intellectual level, which is true, that once you have kids, more of your life becomes about kids. But that's just a negative way to put it. We all know who Blake is. Blake is negative. But when Morgan started going on into this thing about I don't need a man and I don't need kids, I said, oh, here we go. Here we go. Here comes the I don't need the man speech. But yet she is chasing down a Tony the Tiger like he's the last meal in the jungle. But she don't need a man. Every time I hear a woman say, I don't need a man, I always know it's a cover up for something more. I always know it's a cover up for something more. I don't know quite what it is going on with Morgan, but every time I hear a woman say, I don't need a man, they're saying it as a put down. Okay. They're saying it as a put down to that person in front of them. It's basically saying, I don't need you. You don't have no power over me. And that's what she's saying to Blake. I don't need you. You don't have no power over me. It was a whole lot of energy for a situation in which she said she really wasn't hurt. To me, it sounded like a Blake must have hit a trigger. He must have hit a soft point in Morgan. And Morgan has all the heat for him now. All of it. Morgan was like, who hurt you? Who hurt you? And I was like, oh, we definitely know somebody hurt Blake in the past. We know Blake is walking around with a lot of hurts, a lot of wounds, a lot of issues. But Morgan thinks that she's exposing all his hurts and all his wounds. No. Morgan is also exposing all of hers at the same time. Girl, this is a situation where you just need to be quiet. You need to be quiet because you are doing more harm to yourself than good. Walk away, Morgan. Walk away. She said, I don't think you need to be on the show. I don't think your intentions are good. I think you're lying on women. I think you're taking advantage of women. First of all, who is Blake taking advantage of when the only woman that likes him is Sue Ann? What are the women that he's lying to? He could only be lying to one woman, that's Sue Ann, and you already had some bad words to say about Sue Ann, so I don't even think you like Sue Ann. So you're over here getting in the face of a man who you say is lying to a bunch of women, but the only women that even really like him is a woman that you don't even like. So who are you really defending, Morgan? You don't like Sue Ann, so you're not defending her. And who is he lying to when the only woman he's really connected to is Sue Ann? I just don't get all this heat, y'all. I don't get it. She called him a fraud and an imposter and not a good person. And basically told him, get away from me. And he told her, good, just worry about your own connections. Let me get up here and go. That was a mess of a date. Like I said, it wasn't a date. It was an execution. It was a mess. And let me tell you, it really did do more harm than good for Morgan. To me, it didn't put her in a good light for me. I don't know about y'all, or what do you think? I actually think that Blake handled himself well. Does it mean that I like Blake? Absolutely not. I know who Blake is. But I had already made up my mind about who Blake was. So my surprise was Morgan this episode. I gotta say that was the biggest bombshell for me. This whole episode was seeing more of Morgan's personality, not only with Tony, but more of her personality with Anthony, and now her personality with Blake. And let me tell you, I was disappointed. But anyway, that's it, y'all. What do you think about the episode? I'll talk to you later. Bye.